So I had a blast at the Ozarks Homesteading Festival last week, and I love asking questions, so I took the opportunity to interview several people. I wanted to get to know the what and why and how of their homesteading setup. Let's see what they said. First off, I was really curious to know, what's your day job? And this is what they said.
I just retired from teaching.
So we have Naked Chicks pasture.
My husband Gary and I homestead 11 acres. This is my main job. I do have a seasonal part-time job, privately owned bakery.
My wife and I own a seed company, so we sell heirlooms garden seeds called Heirlooms Evermore Seed Company.
And we raise the critically endangered American milking pepper.
I run First Earth Wilderness School. It's a school teaching Stone Age wilderness survival skills.
I'm a full-time natural beekeeper in the Ozarks.
So there was a huge variety of occupations represented, from people who homestead full-time to people who just kind of do it for fun on the side, and librarians to retirees, etc. Since moving out here to rural Missouri, I've actually been an online Spanish teacher. I started my own business, and that's what I do, which I love. So it was really neat to see what other people do. So the next thing I was curious about was, what's your setup? And they said,
I actually live in the city. I rent. I'm a single person, but I've got a garden in my front yard. I've got chickens in the back. Yes. So you can with your space. Yep.
We live on 80 acres. We do a little more of a fun stuff, I have bees.
I do the chickens and ducks. Yes. Plus, I go to Kenya twice a year. Wow. I taught ladies over there how to make goat milk soap.
So we have a small orchard, peaches, pears, plums, apples, and we have mulberries, which is a garden, vegetable garden. Yeah, so we've been here 7 months, and our property had
You've only been here 7 months?
My husband Gary and I homestead 11 acre gardens, canning animals, dairy, beef, cattle, sheep, rabbit, chickens, quail. We raise 75 to 85% of our food.
We're on 10 acres in south central Missouri. We have 3 sheep right now, a ewe, her, ram, and then a ram. We just got a milk cow who's a Jersey Black Angus cross, and then her heifer calf, rabbits, and then chickens, something like 50-ish chickens.
We try to do everything as natural as we can. I'm not vaccinated. That's why I don't have any animals here, is because I can't bring anything back to my farm. We've added bees, Dorset sheep.
So we went from 0 hives to 50 hives in a few years, and that's what we have now. And in addition to that, because bees depend on the flowers around for thriving, we saw a huge amount of deforestation, and gradually we increased this, let's say, a private bee sanctuary from 80 acres to about 1,000 acres.
so again, it was neat to see the variety. All of us coming together for this common purpose of learning more about how we can raise our own food or animals, but with such different setups, from an urban backyard garden to 1,000 acres of bee sanctuary. So cool. Our setup is 16 acres here, which has a lot of yard, some pasture, a lot of woods, an orchard, and then we have an almost adjoining 16-acre parcel that's all wooded. We have 4 bee colonies, which I hope to expand pretty significantly next year, and some meat rabbits and chickens. So then the next thing I wanted to know was, what's been the most difficult thing about your journey so far?
I think just struggling with the garden setup. Being in town, I started like on the side yard just a little bit, and then I was able to do the front yard, and so just finding that space.
That's 2 things. One is changing your lifestyle. I mean, we didn't have a farm in New York, and so they're relying on you, the animals, you know, and so it changes your dynamic of how you go about your day. The other difficult thing was that my husband was in New York for a majority of the time, or other places traveling for work and stuff like that, for a good portion of the time that we were here and started raising chickens. So it mostly fell on me. If something broke, I had to learn how to fix it.
Right.
And I am not a good fixer.
Now you are.
The most difficult thing for us has been getting to the actual homesteading part of the whole picture. In order to graze animals, you need grass, you need pasture, you need property, you need fencing. Before that, we needed a place to live. Feel like we're finally like, okay, now we can actually, manifest all this stuff we've been learning about.
Difficulty is it's a very relative thing.
Sure.
For most people, the difficulty is finding the time to indulge.
Yeah, I would say the difficulty of overcoming the feeling of helplessness and depression over seeing this tremendous amount of deforestation where we live. And unfortunately, I see that our 1,000 acres are a small drop or like a small island. And most people, with their frame of mind, they just don't realize that you can make a living right there, keeping the wilderness intact.
Some people's difficulties were finding the space, some people's difficulty is finding the time, and for some it's emotional difficulty of working through discouragement and disappointment. I think my biggest difficulty with homesteading has been understanding and accepting my limitations and my timeline. Like I mentioned in one of my previous videos where I had some soul searching happen after the expo, part of me just wants to do all the things and raise all of our own food now. But with 4 kids, ages almost 5 and 6, 7, and 8, and homeschooling them slightly, my husband does the vast majority of that, and running a business and teaching online Spanish classes, that's just not realistic for us right now. And like I mentioned in the previous video, maybe not even what I should be striving for, but that's probably my biggest struggle is needing to accept my limitations and embrace the beauty of community. And I asked several other questions, but for this video, the last question I asked was, why do you homestead? And this is what they said.
It's just so rewarding when I have kids come to the farm and actually get to milk the cows, or get a kiss from a llama, or gather eggs. Just so many kids don't know that.
We wanted to provide a healthy option for chicken in our area for ourselves, but also for other people, and just kind of raise awareness of, you know, what they're buying at the grocery store versus a pastured bird, and the taste difference and just the nutritional difference.
Started out as I love to garden and I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom.
So it started as a desire to do something to provide for your family while you're staying home with your kids.
Right, and I have a lot of food allergy sensitivities, I should say. I have a lot of food preservative sensitivity. I have a sensitivity to store-bought eggs, but not homegrown eggs.
Wow.
The connections is a big thing, and that's why I'm thankful my wife is here, because she makes the connections so much better than I do. My wife is really involved in LHG, Ladies Homestead Gathering, so we've been really excited about that getting going down here. It's because it was such a big thing for us. So all of it has been a big learning process, and Ladies Homestead Gathering helped Sarah actually learn a lot of skills and get in community with a bunch of ladies who had done it before or were learning it also, so she knew she wasn't alone. So especially when we moved way out in the sticks, especially with the way things are heading as a society, as a country, having that network of people where you know what skills each other has, what resources each other has, and you know each other, period, so you can help each other out and help meet each other's needs and help also be aware of, okay, how can we help our broader community with all this that we've been given and the skills that we. Our goal is just being as self/community sustainable as possible.
You talk to pork rind.
Yes.
Oh, I love talking to him.
Yeah. We're made to exist in community, and we're made to not be all we need.
Finding the animals. If something happens to an animal, I can't put myself on their place. Hard to come by.
Would you be willing to just share why you love Devon's?
It's an opportunity to help the underdog. I have some pretty serious health issues, and it was imperative. It wasn't an option. It was a necessity that we have.
Knowledge is incomplete until it's passed on. Because all you leave when you leave this planet is your service. We need to find a way to keep this ancestral knowledge alive.
First, it started to have honey for the family, because when I was growing up in Russia, I remember how real honey was tasting like from my uncle's hives, and we were not finding this taste anywhere.
Man, wasn't that cool? I thought that was really neat to see. One theme that I saw, not with everybody, but with a lot of people, was that their journey of homesteading was largely inspired by health concerns or health issues. And I thought that was noteworthy, that the past many decades we've been duped and deceived into the government food plate and thinking that we should have grains at every meal, white grains, and that sugar's okay and that fat's bad. And I think a lot of people are realizing the untruth of a lot of those things and wanting to take responsibility for their own health and raise their own food. So I think that's really neat, and wanting to raise healthy meat like Heather with the Naked Chicks Pastures. And I especially like what Bo said, that knowledge isn't complete until it's passed on. I think that's definitely a skill, a priority that we don't have as much anymore, if at all, in our culture and maybe in many cultures around the world, that passing on of wisdom from generation to generation. And I just love Dr. Leo and his family's hearts of service, wanting to help the bees. It was really neat seeing everybody's hearts. And as I've mentioned before, my main driving force for homesteading is to provide the highest quality food at the lowest possible cost for my family. So thanks so much for joining me. I gotta head back inside to do a little bit of journaling, but I gotta get ready to teach another class. But if you're liking my journey and you're wanting to come along, consider subscribing. And if you've enjoyed this video, can you like it? Thanks. Bye. Good, well that was painless. I hope.
We raise all our own beef, we raise all our own chicken, all our own quail, all our own duck.
She's speaking my language, guys.
Oh, excellent. Get some refreshment.
So it's fizzy water, so I might burp.
That is just fine. Burping is allowed.